to this tutorial on building an efficient coding system. I start with a presentation to show you the do's and don'ts of coding, and then we move over to Atlas, where I go through the two scenarios that you also have the sample data for, and that you can then practice to build your own coding system in an efficient manner. While I've been teaching and working with Atlas for these many years, I've come across a number of projects that have gone wrong, including my own. And then it was always a task to figure out, okay, what can we do in order to continue to work efficiently in the software and to utilize the functionality of the software. So my tips relating to how to build the coding system also have to do with using the functionality and the analysis tools later on in its complete manner. And what I want to avoid is that you go back to Excel. Yeah, so I've seen many, and not only Atlas users, who then print out everything in Excel sheets, and if it's possible, that's not an option Atlas allows, but maybe for good reasons, but it's not really there for on purpose. This is somebody who or an Excel sheet of somebody who first of all had the possibility of printing, can't even show how big this is now on the webcam, 3 by 2 meter piece of paper on a big printer, where she put all her data, or where she could show it, not even all her data. Yeah, so within these cells, of course, they're only good examples. It's not all the data of one particular code for one document in the cell here. So these are all the documents, and then we have some codes here. So and ask her, so where are these codes here in ATLAS.ti? Well, they're not in ATLAS.ti. In Atlas, she got lost and didn't know how to proceed, and then uses default to what they know, and that's oftentimes this Excel or Word. But we cannot run sophisticated analysis with an Excel table, and this only includes the data that kind of come up immediately to our mind that we think are good quotes, but maybe this is going to change once you work more intensively with the data and what software actually allows you to do. This is the coding system of my dissertation research. Well, it's not even a system, it's just a list of codes that came to me while I was coding. And that was in 1998, something like that. And I was already working with Atlas for some years. And though you live and learn, and that's what I'm showing you is what has come out of experience over time. So what I call these codes here today are monster codes. 157 quotations and 118 here. So I gathered everything, collected everything that people told me about their definition of impulse buying or their definition of planned buying. So I didn't separate it and took it apart. In a way, I did somewhere else in the software using the network view function, but generally that you should do something else with the network view tool, and you can watch the videos on that and read the part in the book. What should be reflected in the coding system is what's in these 157 quotations, so you actually can work with it. Yeah, so this is how I would do it today, and you see it's all zeros, so I didn't recode the data. And so the definition of impulse buying can be separated by a financial aspect, by a psychological aspect, and by some codes that were already present in theory. So this is what theory has been telling me. So basically this could be classified as deductive codes, and these others came from the data they emerged. And then all the 157 quotations would be distributed in here, and we would have quite nice sizable codes here in terms of numbers as well. And the other thing that can happen when you build your coding system, that it looks already structured, but it's not quite right in order to use the functionality of the software. What you see here is that we get lots of repetitions in the subcode. Simplicity here again. We have planning here, and structure here, lessons learned for different aspects. What these prefixes are, they are descriptors of models. It's some coding system for a literature review. So where different models were described for doing different things. And so all the different challenges and all the different benefits, of course, we have different challenges and benefits for all these different models, but then they get locked into the model. So now basically we have the model here, or some text about the model, and then we have some descriptions and the history, how they developed and so on. So these are different things, and they shouldn't be put all into one code. Yeah, so this is how it rather should be coded. We should have coded everything that's about the model, and the bit on purpose and the bit on challenge. And here we have a different model, here we have a definition, another different model again, and the definition. So we double code in order to utilize software functionality to do something, and I'll show you what you can do then. So you'll see also that coding list is much shorter now, and of course it's not finished. This is work in progress. So all of these definition, description, history, they need to be subdivided now, otherwise we get monster codes here. After cleaning this up, because it's now, yeah, you can imagine this is a whole, maybe a few pages in the document going on about one particular model, and it's now all these different quotations because they've been locked in their sub-aspects. So this could be cleaned up and so numbers get lower. But sometimes for those basics and characteristics of a document, with, for example, focus group data, you have it with My Children Happiness Project, where we have to code for whether somebody's a parent or not a parent, whether they have a female or male children, or whether they are fathers or mothers. So then we get high numbers here as well. So if you have something like attribute codes or descriptor codes. And now we have the thematic codes what's actually going on in the data here. So we get all the benefits, which then need to be put into the subcategories, and we have all the challenges and some other components which are not, need to be differentiated. And then let's take a look at benefits and challenges. What we can do, we can relate the benefits to the different models and the challenges to the different models. You cannot do that if it's all in one code. So here we get the code co-occurrence table. It's not that meaningful because it's, all the benefits have not been distributed yet. But we get now a table that shows all the benefits here spread across the different models. And then we can get an idea of what kind of benefits the different models have, and we can begin our comparing and contrasting. Same here with challenges. And now this image actually shows then that we can feed back to the data and read the context. As it is now in Atlas, we actually need to look at the interesting bits in the table if you want to create output. If you don't just not only want to read it in context, you have to combine this tool with the query tool. But you find all of these examples, the combination of co-occurrence tools with query tool in the book exercises. So after having shown you a few do's and don'ts, you should get started with coding. And from my point of view, it does not matter whether you start coding close to the data or whether you start with like big codes that might turn into monster codes, but we should stop it before they become too monstrous. But if you feel that it's more natural to you to code close to the data, then do so. And in another study, you have a deductive framework in your mind, and it feels much better to code with like big codes and then later to subdivide. Don't get blocked by, I have to do it this way and that way. Do it how it feels more natural, most natural to you. And I just have to do this now. just added this new image in, so it's actually reflecting the codes from the Children in Happiness project. So the first result of this first coding could be something like this. Johnny Salda, I'm not sure how to pronounce him correctly, his Spanish name, calls this first cycle coding, and I do like this idea of cycling, because you will go through not just one and two cycles, you probably go to a third and fourth and maybe even a fifth cycle. Without having, we can look at some of the codes here, but what this should actually show, this list, is that one person might come up with just a very few codes, and another person has many more codes, and some people are in between. So these are results of a coding exercise from a workshop when people just maybe code 45 minutes. But even within that short period of time, we sometimes have people just having 6-7 codes, and others having 25. So those with 25 codes code much closer to the data. Yeah, you see it here. Also, it's sentences more or less from the data. Love my partner more or less burdened before. More joy and marital satisfaction goes down. So these are things picked up from the data and coded very close to the data. Here, a lot of things are lumped together. All reasons for having a baby, experiences, definition of happiness, all things and collected under study critique, and not just listing every aspect of it. And if you somewhere in the middle, you probably have some codes that needs to be some subdivision and other codes that needs to be aggregated. So if you have 600 codes after coding 200 interviews, that can happen, I know those cases, then you should stop and rethink. Because what you need to do then is to aggregate your codes. If after 2 interviews you have 15 codes, you are kind of a lumper in a sense. Yeah, so you have to then think about it, how to subdivide your codes. Where do you start? Whether you start on that corner or that, doesn't matter. What you have to then know, we have to do this, is what to do next. And this is what I want to show you now in Atlas with the prepared sample projects. So after coding 2 or 3 documents, interviews, whatever you have, if you have very short, maybe just newspaper articles, maybe you need to code 20 of those. Basically, when you have the feeling, it's mostly drag and drop coding. Most of the ideas have already been there. It's nothing new coming. Then take a break from coding. Take a look at your code list and review it, and then begin to sort and structure it. And there are particular ways of how you need to do this in Atlas. And this is what I'm going to show you now, how this works in ATLAS.ti.